Hello, friends. I want to thank you for joining me today, whether it is live for this live stream on Friday morning, midday, depending on where you are, or later on the replay. You absolutely do not need to have already listened to this week's episode of the Driven Woman podcast. Sorry, the Driven Woman Entrepreneur podcast before you listen to these live streams, but it can help. You can also listen afterwards or just have these live streams as a standalone. We're talking about the same stuff. Now, this week, what's really on my mind is how often I see people who are self employed. They may be independent professionals, they may be creatives, they may be entrepreneurs, small business owners, runs the gamut. But a very common problem is how much time we, because I'm part of this group and part of this problem, how much time we spend getting ready, planning, prepping, researching before we actually start taking action. So, if you resonate with this, if this is something that just frustrates you about yourself or maybe your clients or both, stay with me. This is going to be about a 25-minute live stream. And you can always, of course, fast forward through the parts that don't apply to you and your business. Here's the thing, most of the people who become self employed are very good at their craft. If they are a creative, maybe they're working in an ad agency or a creative studio, a creative agency, they want to go out on their own, start their own thing. It could even be a physician, an attorney, or a former psychotherapist like myself who decides they're better off leaving the setting that they're in with others, corporate, nonprofit, or academic, to hang out their own shingle and do their own thing. So these people are achievers. One of the reasons why I call the podcast the Driven Woman Entrepreneur Podcast is because these are the people that I identify with, and these are the people I love to work with. And once again, hand raised, I consider myself part of this group. However, people who are high achievers who decide to start their own business, it could be a coaching business, consulting business, services business, or any kind of business that is run by an independent professional. Chances are they're going to be prone to one or both of these behavioral and mindset habits that hold them back. Are you ready? One, thinking that they need to have everything figured out before they can take the first step. So this goes into the realm of over planning, over preparing, over researching, over analyzing, and believing that they need to have everything worked out before they can take the first step. I have been guilty of exactly the same thing more than once, and I can now see how much it's held me back after working with dozens of other business owners and seeing how it holds them back. Light bulb, right? The second thing is, and it's related to perfectionism and to imposter syndrome. All of these things seem to be connected if you dig in just a little bit. The imposter syndrome, perfectionist tendencies that many of us have lead us to think that we need to wait until we feel ready, feel, in order to be ready. And you can see how this feeds the first problem I mentioned, the over planning, over preparing, over researching, over analyzing. It also leads a lot of us to believe that we need to acquire a lot more credentials, a lot more training, a lot more certification, even additional degrees before we can press start, hit go, pull the trigger, choose the analogy that suits you best. And it simply isn't so. Now, if you are a beginner, don't call yourself an expert. You can call yourself a specialist if you only do one specific thing. But it seems like a lot of people are confounding the two and confusing expert with specialist. You can specialize in something as a total beginner if that's your situation. But if you call yourself an expert, because this term has become so diminished in recent years through internet and online marketing, you are going to struggle. Why? Because even if you paid a pricey coach or consultant or joined some program that told you, tried to convince you that you're an expert and that people will hire you more frequently, pay you more often, pay you better if you call yourself an expert, but you know you're not, you know it. You're gonna get caught up in the trap of over planning, over preparing, over analyzing, over researching, and you're probably also gonna get caught up in the trap of thinking, "I need to take one more class. I need to work with one more person. I need to hire one more coach. I need one more certification. I need to go through one more digital program or mastermind or whatever." It's like the feeling that we're looking for that reassures us we're actually ready can never be achieved by any of those things. And that is one of the dirty little secrets about becoming a business owner. You cannot expect to feel ready. As a matter of fact, if you talk to as many small business owners, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs as I do, you will come to learn that the people who actually make it, and I don't mean have a gazillion dollars. I don't know if you're looking for a gazillion dollars. It's not my game. But people who actually survive and sustain and succeed. And I think of those as the levels. You have to hit, you have to get through the survival stage of business. When you're spending money, you're not making money. Then you have to get to the sustainability stage where you're making some kind of consistent money. And you eventually reach the successful stage where you're making enough money and enough profit that you're actually growing while continuing to be sustainable in your team size, your systems, your revenue, your ability to track leads, and all the things. None of that has anything to do with feeling ready. All of the successful solopreneurs, independent professionals, creatives that I know took action before they felt ready. 100%. Because while we're waiting for that elusive feeling of readiness, other people who are less ready than we are, less prepared, maybe even less knowledgeable and skilled, are taking action. And they are actually attracting and being hired by and serving your potential clients while you're getting ready. Make sense? So the issue here is not that you should just go flying by the seat of your pants. I mean, I have said in other recordings that I've been winging it most of my life, and I actually did pretty well for somebody who was just winging it. But we're not talking about going from overthinking to impulsivity. We're talking about the middle way, which is this: understanding that the feeling of readiness, which is really more of a feeling of confidence, right? It's like, I'm ready enough to take action. I'm ready enough to get started. I'm ready enough to grow my team, launch this program, start a podcast, do my first live stream, whatever it is. I'm ready enough right now to take the first step. You are not hearing me say don't have a plan. That is not the case. I think you can get out of the starting blocks with no plan, but you will quickly run into roadblocks, obstacles, and internal mindset struggles that will stop you in your tracks. So you do need a plan because it provides structure, and forward momentum. You may just dive in head first. I certainly did in many things in my life. But once I encountered problems that I couldn't figure out, I was stuck. So you do need a plan, but it can be a basic plan. It can be a basic, short, medium, and long term plan. And you know how the plan gets better? It's not going through another coaching program, it's not getting another certification, it's not any of the things that you've been doing and that I have done too much of. It's actually taking action. Because having a basic plan and then taking action gives you tangible, real world data, feedback that you can then use to take more action. I cannot tell you how many women I've met who said they wanted to start their own business, left their corporate, nonprofit, or academic job, figured out what they wanted to sell, who they wanted to serve, and then proceeded to spend the next several months to several years getting ready. Now, that's a real privileged position to be in if you can spend a lot of time getting ready to start something without actually starting it. Most people don't have that situation. But you would think that once you've been in business for a few years, because I typically do not work with beginners, with few exceptions, you would think that once you've been in business for a while, you would stop believing that you need to feel ready to do the next thing. This is not true for most people. Now, there may be a lot more hesitation when you're just getting started because there's so many things to learn and you literally don't know any of them. You can get really stuck in the getting ready to get started trap. And I've known people with long lists of credentials and certifications and trainings who are waiting for that elusive feeling that they're ready enough to launch their business. At some point, you have to accept the fact that you probably never will because you've spent so much time getting ready and seeking that feeling that you've lost all confidence in your ability to actually start. So it's not just that we're wasting time when we invest too much time in getting ready. There's three consequences. Yes, we're wasting time and probably money. And even if you're in a privileged position where you don't have to worry about those things, you're still wasting it. Two, other people are moving forward who are less prepared and maybe less knowledgeable and skilled than you are. And they are attracting and being hired by and serving your potential clients. So by not moving forward, you're moving backwards because other people are moving forward in your place. And three, and I think this is the biggest thing, spending too much time getting ready and waiting to feel ready in order to push the button, pull the trigger, whatever, means you are losing confidence in yourself in a way that accumulates over time. That is actually the most damaging thing of all. Because even if you could afford to just keep getting ready and not actually start, and even if you weren't concerned that there are a lot of people moving ahead of you because maybe your niche is really big, there's tons of people in it. It doesn't matter how much competition there is because there's lots of opportunity. Cool. But losing confidence in yourself because you've taken so much time getting ready and you still don't feel ready, that will hold you back at every level of your business. So, what do we do instead? Well, I strongly recommend getting some kind of accountability because most of us become very familiar with disappointing ourselves but we really don't like disappointing others. So if you have an accountability partner, you say, I'm going to do this thing. You tell them, I'm going to do this thing. And you ask them, you invite them to inquire about it. You're not going to want to say, oh, yeah, I know I said I would, but I didn't. Or worse, lie or avoid them. You're probably going to do it. There's no shame in this. If you need accountability to take action, you should get it. I recorded an entire episode of the podcast talking about how I spent 2 years getting ready to launch my podcast. You know what finally got me to do it? Accountability. No lie. Did I feel ready? Not really. It was such an important lesson because 2 years spent getting ready. And the whole time, I was actively working on getting ready and totally believing that I'm going to, at some point, feel ready. So then that will be the time to do it, obviously. But that wasn't it at all. Now, did I feel a little more prepared when I actually launched? Yes, I did. Did I feel more knowledgeable about podcasting? That's also true. But did I feel more ready to put something out in the world and first worry that no one would listen and then worry that people actually were listening? The only way that I could address those issues was by taking action. So first and foremost, if you're spending a lot of time getting ready and you know you're going to just keep doing that until something changes, because it's like all behavior, habit forming. Spending tons and tons of time getting ready, believing that at some point you'll feel ready enough and then you'll just take action. There are people who spend their entire lives getting ready for something. They just eventually get sick of themselves getting ready for one thing, and so they shift over and start getting ready for something else, which they also won't do until they take action. And I have been that person. So this is not, there's no shame here. This is self-awareness and giving yourself the gift of doing what you actually need to do so that you can achieve your goals. There is an upper limit to the value you will receive by getting ready for almost everything. Because getting ready will take your time, will take your energy, will take your focus, will take your attention, may take quite a few of your dollars, depending on what it is you're getting ready and how you're getting ready, but it will never move the needle. And it will never give you the feeling of confidence that now I'm ready. Watch out, world. Not going to happen. What gives you that confidence is taking action, not getting ready to take action 100% of the time. So, in addition to the accountability, which you probably need if you're listening to this, and if you're still listening to this at the 18-minute mark, I see you. You need accountability. You really do. And so did I, and so do I. Because every time we start something new, and by the way, like I said, I don't work with beginners by and large. I work with established business owners who have hit a plateau and can't seem to break through it. I will promise you, no matter how long they've been in business, many of them have not moved beyond that plateau because they're doing something habitually that they think is necessary before they can take the next step of growth. Different things for different people. Sometimes, let's say you're an established business owner, you want to grow your business. Maybe you want to expand or grow by virtue of growing your revenue and your profits. But the team you employ doesn't have the necessary skills to take you to that next level. But they've been working for you since the beginning, and they've been loyal to you. And so you feel like, I'm stuck. I need to stick with my existing team, and they don't have the necessary skills or abilities for the business that I'd like to grow into. That's a quandary, right? But it's not an insurmountable obstacle. And no amount of trying to think through it is going to change anything. Or thinking at some point I'm going to have some difficult conversations. There's never a good time for uncomfortable conversations. I have learned that in life. There is a way to acquire the skills to communicate with people that work with you or for you or clients. You can absolutely learn how to get better at having uncomfortable conversations. Will they still be uncomfortable? Yeah, unless you're kind of a jerk. But you can get better at them. Absolutely. It's one of the things I work on with my clients all the time. Because sometimes it's our avoiding of uncomfortable conversations that has us stuck in an endless cycle of getting ready to take our business to the next level. Here's a couple of other recommendations before we go. I've already said get the accountability. Be willing to address the actual issues that are holding you back. You may need to work with someone for this. I'm just saying. Doesn't have to be me. It could be me. But just continuing on with business as usual without really knowing what's working and what isn't, that is never going to change by itself. Or thinking, at some point I'm going to have to talk to somebody, talk to a consultant, talk to a strategist, talk to a coach, I'm going to just talk to somebody because this has gone on for a long time. It's not changing. You get to decide when the right time is. You're never going to feel like the time is right because whatever it is you're avoiding is uncomfortable. It will be uncomfortable to face it until you realize that there are solutions that you have not explored. And with the accountability and guidance and support of the right professional, you can address them. You can work through them and you can move past them. But you probably aren't going to do it by getting ready to do it. What tends to happen in my experience is that most people who realize that they're spending a lot of time getting ready to make any kind of change. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a growth change. It doesn't necessarily have to be a launch change, like launching a new program, a new product, a line extension, an expansion, or a new marketing campaign like a podcast. It doesn't have to involve any of those things. It actually could be minimizing. It actually could be downsizing. It actually could be changing your business model altogether. Let's say going from a brick and mortar to an online business, or maybe you have both and you realize you don't want to run the online part of the business anymore. How do you wrap it up? So the getting ready effect also applies to those kind of changes as well. What I strongly recommend, since you're not my client right now, the accountability is crucial. The other thing that's crucial is a timeline. We will tend to put off indefinitely taking action on something that we feel uncertain about. And so we'll keep doing things that really don't move the needle, but help us believe that we are doing something. But I want to ask you, if you're doing something that is habit forming, because all behavior is never going to move the needle and is only going to lull you into complacency, by convincing you that you are doing something to address the need, the problem, the challenge, but it's actually just taking up your time and energy and focus and dollars while everything remains the same. I believe you owe it to yourself to set a deadline, which is a form of accountability, and promise yourself that this is how much more time I'm going to give myself to get ready. And if nothing changes, or I don't feel differently, I don't feel more ready, or the situation hasn't, I don't know, spontaneously dissolved or resolved itself, then I will take action. Have that uncomfortable conversation, hire a coach or consultant, make a decision. I think people who are self employed, small business owners, independent professionals, consultants, coaches, creatives are some of the most intelligent, creative, and hardworking people on the planet. And it is so challenging to see how many of them choose to struggle in this way, all the while thinking they're doing something about the problem, when in fact, all they're doing is delaying the actual problem resolution. Action, action, action. And it doesn't have to be a big action. I'm not talking about blowing something up, firing everybody, buying a building, launching something that you are completely unprepared to do and have no plan for. You don't have to be reckless. But action is going to create the feeling that you're looking for. The feeling that you think you need in order to take action will only be experienced by taking that action. I won't apologize if this has been hard to hear because it is shared with deep respect and even affection, even if I don't know you, because I'm in the same boat and I take my own medicine. Why? Because I have spent far too much time convinced I was doing something by getting ready when I just needed to get busy. And now I'm getting busy, and I hope you will too. That's it for now. Please join me again next week for another straight talking, hard hitting, one on one live stream with me. This is Diane Wingard from the Driven Woman Entrepreneur Podcast. Have an amazing week. And remember, go take action.